The Light Blur plugin allows us to create light blurs. So the way this works is that I'm going to go back into my global primitives here. I'm going to slide a rectangle into my scene tree, and then I'm going to go back into my plugins here, into my texture folder where the Light Blur plugin is. I'm going to slide this Light Blur plugin onto my rectangle, and you can see when we do that, it creates this little light blur in the scene tree here. So what it does is actually creates this little image, and you can see this in the image editor. You can also see on the container here that it has a image. But if we click in the Light Blur editor here, we have a couple of options. One, the width and the height is set to 64. So we can change this if we want. It just creates a little bit more clarity depending on how big our actual geometry is. We also have a format in RGB, RGBA, alpha, luminance, and luminance alpha. I'm going to keep it on RGBA for now. I'm also going to go back into my transformation editor. I'm just going to scale this up a little bit so we can see it better. And I'm going to go back into the Light Blur. Now the Light Blur also has options here that we can adjust the X. You can see if we adjust it too far, how it starts to cut off this image. We can also adjust the Y, and again the same thing happens. If we adjust it too far, it will cut off that image. We also have a spread here. By default it's at 10. If we increase it, it will kind of spread out this image, and if we go too far, you can see exactly what's happening as far as the geometry, how it kind of constrains the proportions of this image. We also have a color wheel here, so we can change the color of this light blur. So I'm just going to reset my spread here to about 10. Now the thing is, we can use this as is plugin, but we can also save this little image in case we want to use it again and again. So we can take a snapshot of it and save it in case we want to use it again and again. So I'm just going to locate a folder here where I want to save it, and then I'm just going to take a snapshot, and I can just give it a name here. We'll call it Light Blur 1. We can choose RGB, RGBA. I'm going to hit OK. And here's our little light blur. Now if I want to manipulate this further, I can double click on the image and go into the image editor. Here we have options like crop and add, so I can adjust our left, right margins, our top and bottom margins. If you want to adjust any blur or scaling or anything like that, we can do that as well. We can hit apply, we can save it and close it, and now we have another image. So if we get rid of our light blur plugin and the particular little light blur there and drag this image down, it's practically the same thing. It's just a way to create another image in case you want to keep reusing that image.